guys, welcome back to this edition of some donuts. There's going to be a full list of ingredients down in the description box. So here's just me mixing some yeast with some warm milk and measuring out all of my ingredients. Preparation in this is so key. Measuring up my sugar, my butter, and now putting it all into the stand mixer and letting that do all the hard work. If you don't have one, you obviously can do this by hand, but I just chose to utilise my stand mixer, my KitchenAid I got for Christmas. My butter was quite hard, so just to let it soften up a bit, I put it in a stand mixer with some sugar just to break it down a little bit. And now I'm going to add the egg mixture as well as the yeast. So with the yeast, you know you've done a good job if it's all like frothy, and as you can see mine's frothy and bubbly on the top. That's how you know that it's had that time to soak up the sugars, and the warmth of the milk has like added to it growing and being activated. I'm just going to like push down some of the sides as well, just to make sure it's well incorporated, and then start adding my dry ingredients like the flour. Guys, I'm telling you, at this point, don't be scared. It's going to look a mess and it's going to look like it's not going to turn into dough, but give it time. It starts all coming together and it looks so much better. So as you can see here, it started to come all together. It looks like dough. I know that I'm on the right track. So while the dough's proving, I'm just going to start preparing my topping ingredients. So I'm chopping up all my chocolate and starting to melt all of that as well. And we're going to dip some strawberries in a little bit. So let your chocolate melt. Try not to make it burn, because that's like a point of no return. I just put boiling water under mine, and as soon as it starts to melt, I tend to take it off and just let it finish from the heat that's in the pan already. Here you just want to do exactly the same with the white chocolate. I've used a lot less white chocolate because I know that I'm not gonna dip as many of the strawberries in the white chocolate, so obviously fit it to how many people you're catering for. This next bit is so easy, but it's really effective. So you start by dipping in your milk chocolate. You want to have a plate to hand where you can just place the strawberries on sort of softly. You can do that for as many of the strawberries as you need to. You can decorate it with the white chocolate, as you're going to see in a minute, and then just bung it in the fridge and you're done. So of course, freestyle as much as you want. I decided to actually dip some of mine in the white chocolate instead of just using it as decoration, just to mix it up a little bit, get a bit of variety as well. For this decoration bit, quite a lot of people that I've seen online use a fork to do this. Obviously it's got more prongs and stuff. I had already put a spoon in, so I just stuck with a spoon. Guys, no judgment. I know they look a bit messy, but it's not always about how it looks. It tasted quite good as well. So now we're going to make the chocolate Oreo crumb for the chocolate donuts. You can just use a knife and a chopping board. I couldn't be bothered, so I chopped it with my blender. So having the toppings already, this makes life so much easier, because once the donuts are fried, I ain't got time to be melting chocolate and chopping up biscuits. So definitely make sure you do this before you start frying your donuts. Before you roll out your dough, you want to make sure you've got a well floured surface, just so it doesn't stick to anything. Make sure you flour any of the utensils or whatever that you're going to use to cut the shapes as well. Roll it out too thin or too thick. So on this, I think I measured it about an inch thick, because you're then going to put it away to proof for about another half an hour again, so they will grow. I didn't want any wastage, so the little donut, any circular bits, I use them to test out the temperature of my fat that I was frying, just to make sure, one, I wasn't wasting any donuts, and two, that the temperature of the oil wasn't too hot. I didn't put it on here, but I made that exact mistake. So my lard was way too hot. The second I put the little circular bits in, they went like dark brown. So I had to turn off my heat, let my fat temperature reduce, and then start again. For those that have access to one, I would get a cooking thermometer, just so you know the right temperature for your oil and your fats. I personally don't have one yet, so I'm going to invest in one. So I think next time that'll make it a lot easier. And just because I use lard, you don't have to use lard. You can use any kind of vegetable oil with a high smoking point. So avocado oil, sunflower oil, any of those type of oils will do just right. The little bally balls are nearly done. They're like a nice golden brown colour, and they're quite fluffy as well because they're floating on top. So I'm just going to chuck them in some cinnamon sugar and have them as little nibbles. Exact time on how long these donuts took to fry, but I feel like mine went really quick. I don't know if that's because of the temperature of my oil, but I want to say maybe about 45 seconds per side, and I kept just making sure that I was really watching them and going by the colour of them, and the fact that they were floating as well said to me that they wasn't too dense, so they should have been cooked. I've done one as a tester and it was absolutely fine, so I just went by that gauge. So after all of that waiting for the dough to prove and all that mixing and everything, all the preparation, now's the fun bit, like get really creative with it. I didn't have an exact idea of how I wanted these to look. I just knew that these are all of my favourite ingredients. I love Lotus, I love Oreos, chocolate, Nutella, all of that. Get creative with it. So I done some Nutella ones with some Oreo crumb. I done some of the white chocolate with the Lotus crumb. I've done some just plain sugar. It's entirely up to you how creative you get with it. Once again, if you have enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you give it a huge thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and make sure you leave me a comment as well. I fully forgot to put the strawberries on, so in the next shot you'll see the strawberries that we made together. Thanks for watching Jazzy's Kitchen.